never normal for Tottenham in the transfer window, is it? Just one normal day of transfer window. That's all I ask for Tottenham Hotspur. There's been some news that's broke around Morgan Gibbs-White. It's from some ITKs. We don't know how reliable it is, but we're going to discuss it today on the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, and also talk about a transfer that's gaining some traction that I haven't yet spoken about on the channel. But before we go any further, let me know if you are enjoying these transfer style videos where I just sort of react to the daily news in about 10 minutes or so. Also, let me know in the comments down below, who do you want Tottenham to sign and what do you make of the signings that I've mentioned today in this video. And as always, if you are new, leave your likes, subscribe, hit that notification bell because it will let you know when I've gone live in instances such as this. So, the bit of breaking news that we're going to talk about first is regarding Morgan Gibbs-White. And we're coming up to nearly 2 weeks since Fabrizio Romano gave the here we go to Morgan Gibbs-White. It looked like he was set on joining. We triggered his release clause of £60 million and it was all hunky-dory. It went really quick. It was a bit of a whirlwind. But on the Friday 2 weeks ago, we saw news saying that Tottenham and their approach for Morgan Gibbs-White was seen as illegal or, you know, below the belt, you could say. And since then, we've not really heard much about the transfer. We've obviously seen that Morgan Gibbs-White played in a pre-season game for Nottingham Forest. He played about 45 minutes in a 0-0 draw with Monaco. He was filmed clapping the fans and giving love hearts and all that sort of stuff. And there's still potential that he could join them on their pre-season tour. So we're yet to see if it's solved. But there's rumours from Manchester City ITKs, if you don't know what that means, in the nose, saying that possibly Manchester City could be back in for him. Now, earlier on in the window, before Manchester City had signed Ryan Churchy, they were looking at Morgan Gibbs-White as that Kevin De Bruyne replacement, and were looking in the region of £65 million, which I think was still technically below Nottingham Forest's asking price. But fast forwards, and it looked like nothing was really going on with Manchester City. They obviously signed Ryan Churchy, and it looked like, you know, he was set on then Morgan Gibbs-White joining Tottenham. But the way that this deal is apparently going to work is Nottingham Forest are going to be offered the option to sign James McAtee in a sort of swap deal. You know, James McAtee, the young England under-21 international who was really good in the Euros, won the Euros with England, under-21s that is. And again, I'd like him at Spurs. I think he's a very good player. He's been linked with moves to West Ham and Everton, I think, as well. But it looks like Nottingham Forest, they're looking to replace Morgan Gibbs-White before they get rid of him. And potentially, Evangelos Marinakis has got annoyed with Daniel Levy and Tottenham's approach and would rather sell for a similar fee to a different club. So I feel like this is a bit of a confusing time with this transfer. And the way I see it going is I still am confident Tottenham can get this deal done. It might not be done for like another week or 2 weeks or so, but I still think Manchester City are not going to pay up for a player like Morgan Gibbs-White who's just going to sit on the bench. Surely not. They do not need Morgan Gibbs-White. They've got Phil Foden. They've still got Jack Grealish on the books. They've got to get rid of him before they actually get someone in. They've got Doku. They've got Savinho. I just can't see this one happening. I find it ridiculous that it's even being, you know, touted and mooted. But I just feel like Tottenham have now got to do all they can to get Morgan Gibbs-White, because as I mentioned, and if you haven't seen it already, I did a video reacting to Thomas Frank's first game of his Tottenham tenure, the 2-0 win against Reading. I mentioned in that video that, you know, what we were lacking was creativity. You know, when Kudus came on, we saw it from him, but there's still a player, you know, with the lack of James Maddison at the moment and Dejan Kulusevski, someone like Morgan Gibbs-White in this Thomas Frank team would be absolutely incredible. I would absolutely love to see it. But let me know in the comments down below. Do you think Morgan Gibbs-White is still going to come to Spurs? Are Man City going to get him? Or could it be someone else? Next transfer story then is Joao Palhinha. He keeps being linked with a move to Tottenham Hotspur. And the story behind him, obviously, last year moved to Bayern Munich from Fulham. Was really good for Fulham in the Premier League. We remember, like one of the most, the player completing the most tackles in the Premier League in that 6 defensive mid role for Spurs. And then he made the move to Bayern Munich and wasn't really seen as a key player for Vincent Kompany's Bayern Munich side. It looks like he's keen to now move on. 30 years of age, Portuguese international, and looks like he's set to maybe move to a different club. Now, what do I think of this? Now, it's not usually the age profile that Spurs are going for at the moment. They're going for, at least the oldest players they're going for are 27, 28-year-olds at the peak of their powers. 30 is not the kind of player I'm nearly 30. I'll be 30 next year, so I'm sort of slagging myself off here. But that sort of profile, Daniel Levy doesn't see it as a pretty good resale value. Put that into perspective, we don't sell well anyway sometimes when it comes to these players, so why does it matter? Look at Lo Celso, we let him basically go for free, and Ndombele as well. So I guess what the outlook is this is maybe a short-term solution. I think Palhinha would be a good signing, but the way I see Thomas Frank lining up at the moment is it looks like we've obviously got Bentancur, we've obviously got Bergvall in that position, Archie Gray, Basuma. I think there still needs to be more outgoings before we see Tottenham actually, sign in this position. I have touted players like Adam Wharton. Obviously, these are unrealistic, some of these. Adam Wharton, Carlos Baleba, João Gomez, even an Angelo Stiller. Someone who's a bit younger and more dynamic than Joao Palhinha, because Joao Palhinha, to me, we might as well have kept Pierre-Emile Højbjerg if we were going to go down that route of someone who's, not really mobile on the ball, who's just that sort of destroyer who's just going to tackle and give to the other player next to him. So I'm really not sure. I think I'd take him plus someone else if you could get him really cheap, but I feel like it's pretty much of the same. I think I'd rather give Basuma a second chance and Bentancur, keep him on for a little bit longer than, pursue this one. So, yeah, I'm not really sure about that. But again, you have to let me know in the comments down below, because, again, I think the player is a class player. I think he's got a lot of potential. But for me, at the moment, I feel like there are better options out there for Spurs to explore, because, yeah, it just does leave a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. And finally, before I go then, I just want to talk about, the transfer window in general. And, after seeing Thomas Frank's first game, is there anything we're lacking? Is there anything we need? And now, I've seen a lot of people say we definitely need a backup striker. Dominic Solanke, is he the be-all and end-all for Tottenham up front? I think he is, personally, but with the likes of Richarlison looking like he could move on, and someone, is Will Lancashire really the answer? I saw, he obviously scored, was the first goal scorer of the Thomas Frank era. Would you put your money on that? Probably not. I could see him going out on loan, and then you've got, Dane Scarlett and players like that. Do Tottenham need another backup striker? And is that player maybe a Visser? Potentially. And then defenders. I see, a lot of... there were links last week, and I did a video on it about Zabrani at Bournemouth, but Luka Vuskovic looks like we will be all right in that position. So maybe we actually haven't got to worry about that. Fullbacks, I think, there's some good fullbacks on the market. Maybe a Dennis Churkin gets signed at left back. I think that's where... I don't really fancy Ben Davies playing a whole lot of minutes this season. I think it's good to keep him on because we're not going to get much resale value on him, and he offers good leadership. But I think a backup left back would be good. And then, apart from that, I think Tottenham are pretty set. I think it's still now about outgoings. I feel like I could see Richarlison going. I feel like I could see Basuma going, and then some good loan spells. I think there's a lot of people in that squad who could do with a good loan spell this year, because to see if they've got a potential to really, up their game and move on to that next level. So, yeah, that's how I see it. So that's my reaction to Morgan Gibbs-White and Joao Palhinha. Let me know what you think of them in the comments down below. And also, stay tuned to the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel. Got a video coming out tomorrow with special guest Tottenham Twitter overlord Billy T. We're going to be talking all things Tottenham Hotspur, so stay tuned for that by liking, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, because it will tell you when I've gone live in that video. And until next time, up the Spurs, and I'll see you guys pretty soon. Ciao.